is 40,060 US dollars, which will be reached by the end of 2020. Remarkable investment into Hong Kong as well. FDI inflow to Hong Kong around the world is 115.7 billion US dollars. We ranked third globally of receiving all this information according to the study from UNC-TAC World Investment Report in 2019. And we are the 6th leading global financial center. According to the Global Financial Center Index, 13th in Global Innovation Index alone for Hong Kong in 2019. And yearly, we have around 56 millions of visitors to Hong Kong. And I'll start off by talking a little bit on innovation and technology industry in Hong Kong. We are also the 4th most innovative economy in Asia in 2019, according to studies. And our startup ecosystem is actually thriving right now. We have a steady upward trend because of the increased investment from overseas and also domestically in infrastructure and in funding support. So in 2019 alone, the number of startups in Hong Kong increased by 21% to 3,184 firms already. So the focus or the strength of the development of this industry, there are 4 major areas, which is biotechnology, biotech, AI, artificial intelligence, smart city, and what we're focusing today right now, financial technology, FinTech. And the major research focus of this startup, especially for the technology side, it would be IT, information and communication technology. And then we have SaaS, software as a service. We have IoT, Internet of Things, data analytics, biotech, AI, robotics, VR, and augmented reality. And in terms of application, we have FinTech, smart city, smart home, healthcare, and big data. Regarding Hong Kong, we have a very, very encouraging environment being created by the government, the local government here in Hong Kong. They have the initiative or the willingness to develop high quality infrastructure to attract innovation and technology talents. Here in Hong Kong, we currently have 2 accelerators or incubators. We have Cyberport, and we also have Hong Kong Science and Technology Park. And we're currently also developing the Hong Kong Shenzhen Innovation and Technology Park. And the local government, for the massive use of more technology devices or gadgets, software application, and to generate the habit of the entire population of Hong Kong to use technology, they promote it through different measures. They have for individuals and they also have it for companies. Simply with us individuals, with all these citizens around here, we're gradually changing it to digital personal identity. Their identity card is gradually including more chips and including more technology aspects. We also have blockchain technology and mortgage business. And for corporate, if you're using online banking system, they also created a faster payment system, which facilitates a big amount or even small amount of money between the transaction of different companies. And so to wrap up a little bit, key characteristics of Hong Kong, we are, for Hong Kong, it is actually one of the founding members of World Trade Organization. It embraces great degree of freedom in business, both in goods and in terms of services. It actually currently have 8 free trade agreements, not only trading for goods, but also, as I emphasize once again, they also emphasize in services. And we have currently 1 free trade agreement with Chile in force since October 2014. So it's been 6 years already. And looking at the aspect of FinTech to Chilean FinTech to Hong Kong, actually Hong Kong is a technology marketplace for mainland China. And why do I say so? It's because according to some official figures, the official will be Ministry of Science and Technology, the department, Hong Kong is actually the number 8 largest source of technology imports for mainland China in terms of contract value. So actually, many of the mainland companies actually come to Hong Kong, or through different channels, they are sourcing talents, they are sourcing technology from Hong Kong. And to bring on to closer to the consumers, for consumers in Hong Kong, they are highly informed, and then they value very much innovation. They value very much efficiency, no matter you're a corporate consumer or corporate client, or you are local consumers. They also value health. They value well-being because of the increasing improvement of the quality of life here in Hong Kong. And just so I say so, it is a good opportunity for Chilean fintech companies to be in Hong Kong, because actually Hong Kong is a saturated market for traditional products. So people or consumers are constantly looking for new products and services that never happened before, is without precedent. So they look for something unique, look for something efficient and innovative. And to bring that on, so how can you enter into the Hong Kong market? Like for different markets, for different countries, because of culture, influence of culture, of costumes, people have different ways of doing business. We have different business culture. But for Hong Kong, out and foremost, must be reserved the local regulations. You have to respect that. And especially Hong Kong, for technology side or innovative sides, we emphasize a lot on intellectual property rights, or you say copyrights. And here in Hong Kong, we have a copyright ordinance, and it is effective already since 1997. So it is more than 20 years. So we have to observe Hong Kong is a place that highly value the judicial system, the ordinances or regulations. And also, when it comes to clients, when, we talk business, Hong Kong firms is actually not rejecting to the others. They are very open to new ideas, and they are actually very eager to work with serious partners. So how can we be a serious partners? For Hong Kong, we very important to show your commitment, to show sincerity and integrity in doing business. So simply by starting off with being highly responsive to inquiries, very fast reaction, and if they request for meetings, be it like today virtual or be it in person, it would be, if you respond immediately, show your eagerness, it would pave way to develop a long-term business partnership. And to that, we are foreseeing a future long-term partnership built on trust and also built on confidence. And also, Hong Kong is a very fast-paced city, not only for common people, but also, of course, for the firms, for the corporate world. So you have to be flexible, you have to be adaptive, and to understand the fast-paced business climate. Because here in Hong Kong, decisions are made quickly. Either you will respond immediately to inquiries or requests, or you will risk losing a very valuable business opportunities, and then it will be by your competitors. So also for Hong Kong, last but not least, one of the main importance of doing business in Hong Kong is you need a great web of network. Networking is very important, but how can we get into a bigger network? It is important to join organizational activity, or the activity of the association, of the local association, the local organization, just like what we did today. We have our authorities from Hong Kong. We have Invest Hong Kong, we have HKTDC, and today we also have FinTech Association of Hong Kong, which I'm sure is very important for us to get to know them, to get to establish a relationship with them or business communication with them, in order to pave way for future plans, future projects. So, and to bring that on, I would bring the time back to our presenters, which is from these authorities, from this associations to give their valuable opinions. But before I end my presentation, this is a look of the ecosystem of FinTech Chile. And on behalf of all these FinTech companies in Chile, once again, I would like to express my gratitude to all our speakers today. And we hope that this would open a bridge for future project. So thank you so much. And I will pass the time to our FinTech Association.
Thank you very much, Margaret.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I want to invite to Ms. Helen Lee, she's the General Manager of the FinTech Association in Hong Kong. Please, Ms. Lee.
Good morning, dear friends from Chile. Very honored to be here. I would actually, doing this presentation, give you a quick overview of Hong Kong's FinTech ecosystem, as well as quite a few of the partnerships and accelerators that we have locally. But I would like to invite our board member, Mushir Ahmed, to talk us through the overview first before I go in a little bit more on the other specifics. Mushir.
Yeah. Thank you, Helen. Good to be here, everybody. Thank you for having us. As Helen
there is a problem with the
maybe we have a problem with the sound of
can't hear
Margaret. Can you check?
Yes, okay.
Helen, check the microphone, it's open.
Yeah. Helen, are you still here? Helen? So while we're waiting for Mushir and Helen to be back online,
no, yes, I am here, but I think we lost Mushir.
Yeah.
Maybe give him a minute or two.
But for that, while waiting for Mushir, actually, while waiting for him, we would like to say that I'll take this opportunity to promote from the ProChile Hong Kong side, is that for ProChile Hong Kong side and together with the ProChile Chile side, from Alberto, from Fernando, from Ernesto, we are actually very eager in promoting FinTech Chile here in Hong Kong. And we are looking at a number of interesting promotional activities, not only today here with the first kick-off virtual workshop on FinTech, but we're also looking for future opportunities to actually, we're gathering the support from the Chilean companies to join, especially what Alberto has mentioned earlier during the introduction. We have a roundtable of online meeting, one-on-one, 15 minutes per one meeting to be joined this end of May, 26 to 28. So we invite everyone, Chilean FinTech companies, to join the roundtable so that we can, actually have a chance to pair you up with the FinTech companies in Hong Kong or the investors here in Hong Kong to have one-on-one meeting so that, you can, as I've mentioned before, one of the trade strategies to, establish a relation building, and we're looking forward to a long-term one. So it will be a great opportunity to kick off or to start off, and then we're looking for a soft landing. So we invite everyone from Chile side to join that. And we're also, hopefully, the association or the authorities here in Hong Kong will be able to support us as well. So
excuse me, Margaret.
Yeah.
Because maybe Helen had trouble with the presentation, and I suggest maybe we can jump at the moment to the Helen presentation, and if Mr. King Loon from the Invest Hong Kong is there. Is here with us.
Hi, sorry guys.
Maybe we can start with Mr. Leung and after return back with the Helen presentation. I don't know.
Yes,
sorry.
I think Mushir, are you back?
Yes, I am. Can you see me?
Oh. We can't see you yet.
Okay.
But we can hear you. Can you share your screen so that?
Actually, my laptop's crashed. Margaret, could you share the slides if you don't mind? So it's a possibility for you.
You know what? Actually, I can help you and share your presentation.
Yes,
you can
please.
simply take control of the presentation. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna share it right now.
Thank you.
Helena, you're back also?
Yes, I've always been online.
Okay, here is it.
Just waiting for the presentation. So if you can control the presentation, then Mushir and I can, share with everyone.
It's shared right now. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Thank you. My apologies. What's an online webinar without technology difficulties? Coming back to it, I'm one of the co-founders of the FinTech Association and also founding board member. I'm still on the board. I currently run FinTech Asia, which is an advisory firm focused on helping companies who are looking to scale into Asia, in particular cross-border. So we help companies with their strategy, market entry, and market feasibility, in particular in FinTech in Hong Kong and ASEAN region. Right. Next slide. Margaret, could you change the slide or? Yeah, okay. Briefly on the FinTech ecosystem in Hong Kong, you can see that the ecosystem is quite dynamic. Margaret's already mentioned a few things about the overall ecosystem. But in terms of FinTech itself, Hong Kong is recognized as one of the top FinTech hubs globally. Hong Kong is also a very well-known and renowned place when it comes to regulatory setup. We are a top IPO hub globally as the highest number of IPO value last year and a couple of years before that as well, typically competing with the New York Stock Exchange. For this, in addition to that, our strong and stable regulatory support has been in sync with the majority of global regulations, largely in sync with where the US and Europe are when it comes to a variety of FinTech-based regulations. And that helps anybody who's coming in from overseas to establish themselves without much difficulty in terms of understanding the regulations which are based on the English common law. We are a largely B2B business model. Hong Kong has quite a few the companies focused on B2B or B2B2C. There are a decent number of B2C companies as well. Having said that, quite a few of them are focusing not just on Hong Kong, but the Greater Bay Area region. We will talk a little bit more about that soon. Then, in addition to that, Hong Kong has a range of unicorns from the AI-based unicorn, which is SenseTime, which is founded in Hong Kong about 6 years ago. They now service Greater China and across the world. They're known as the world's most valuable FinTech unicorn. VLab is started off as a lending player. They have over 42 million users, and now they also have a virtual bank. I'll touch on that very quickly. BitMEX is a cryptocurrency exchange, one of the older ones, and have their head office here. And TNG is a wallet which is servicing the large portion of underbanked in Hong Kong and our migrant workers here. Next one, please. Now, regulatory bodies in Hong Kong, we have a range of regulatory bodies, but for FinTech purposes, the three main regulatory bodies are the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, which is the de facto central bank and the Monetary Policy Setting Authority. Number two is the Securities and Futures Commission, which is the SEC equivalent that looks at financial markets and investment landscape, whereas HKMA's focuses on the banking ecosystem. And number 3 is the insurance authority, which looks at the insurance industry. Earlier, Hong Kong had 3 bodies looking at insurance. They were consolidated under the insurance authority as of last year. Now, HKMA comes under the Financial Services Ministry of Hong Kong, so under the Financial Secretary, while SFC and Insurance Authority are sorry, lost you again. While the SFC and the Insurance Authority are independent bodies, but they come under the Hong Kong regulations, and their chiefs are largely appointed by the government. If you go to the next slide, please, I'll just talk a little bit more about each of these regulators. So Hong Kong Monetary Authority has been leading FinTech in terms of not just regulatory push, but also making the incumbents do a lot more. So they came out with what's called the 7 Smart Banking Initiatives in 2017, which has been very significant in changing how we do business in Hong Kong for financial services. Few of these Margaret mentioned, like faster payment system, but I like to focus on 3 others. One being open banking ecosystem. So the open banking system and ordinance frameworks was launched a year ago. We are in phase 3 right now. Phase 1 and phase 2 has been over. Unlike the open banking ecosystem in UK and Europe, here in Hong Kong, the regulator does not mandate the banks to select specific fintechs. What they've done is they have set out what should be shared by banks for open API frameworks over the 3 and 4 phases. Initial one was just like branch locations. Number 2 was product information. Number 3 phase is on determining what is the account information, and number 4 will be all data collectively. Now the banks are working with the fintechs to come up with a common baseline. So there is an association for banks called Hong Kong Association of Banks, who are largely looking after from the bank side, and we as FinTech Association of Hong Kong have been speaking and representing the FinTech ecosystem, which includes the banks, but also everybody else, including the FinTech startups, professional services firms, and technology firms, who have been providing feedback to build out the frameworks. The second one that I want to focus on in terms of HKMA initiatives is the regulatory sandboxes. So they were the first ones to start it off in Hong Kong. They have gone to stage 2 of the sandboxes, and the sandbox for could you go to the previous slide, please? The sandbox for Hong Kong is now allows both fintech companies as well as banks to test out their products. Initially, it was only for banks, and that's a major upgrade. Number 3 is the virtual banking landscape. Hello? Yeah. Number 3 is the virtual banking landscape, which has been focused on allowing 8 entrants, giving license. It's a full banking license. Having said that, only allowed to operate online. So no physical presence other than a service office. So this is a new model. What all 3 are open banking plus the sandbox, FPS, and virtual banking is doing is it's pushing all incumbents to start using FinTech more regularly and more often. And we're seeing a lot of the local incumbents digitizing their products as well. I'll quickly run over the other 2 regulators. So SFC's a FinTech ecosystem has quite a few things. They have a contact point. They have an advisory group that looks at FinTech, and a sandbox similar to what HKM have done. They also have a crypto sandbox that they launched last year for digital asset firms who are looking to get licensed in Hong Kong. There's a lot of collaboration on the international stage by these regulators, including all 3 of them are part of the GFIN, which is a global FinTech innovation network of regulators. And as I said, they've come up with detailed regulations on cryptocurrencies. Next one being the Insurance Authority. They have an insurance sandbox. They have issued 4 licenses for virtual insurers, including on life and medical. Last of which was the Zhong'an, which was launched last week. And they also have a insurance tech facilitation team that deals with the ecosystem. Next one, please. Now, where is Hong Kong's future play going? The FinTech ecosystem moving towards a greater influence of Chinese FinTech, including the likes of Alibaba, Tencent, Ping An, Xiaomi, etc., taking active part in the virtual banking license and overall FinTech ecosystem. Digital banking is definitely driving Hong Kong, open APIs and other initiatives. We're seeing a lot of traction on entrepreneurship. Number of startups in Hong Kong have gone up from 1,000 in 2014 to 3,000 plus, including 650 fintech startups in 2020. And then integration with Mainland through the Greater Bay Area, One Belt, One Road initiatives. And we're also seeing a lot of collaboration for companies to go into ASEAN markets. I'll now hand over to Helen to talk to you about the China Greater Bay Area, as well as about the FinTech Association and facilitators in the ecosystem. Thank you. Helen, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mushir. Very good to be here this morning, and welcome again, everybody. Now, the Greater Bay Area, if we can have the next slide, please. Yeah. In terms of numbers, it's actually not shy, as a whole area for engaging not only in fintech, but with also some of the tech giants and bigger corporate players. If you look at all the 10 cities of the GBA, the Greater Bay Area combined, I mean, in terms of population, in terms of GDP, in terms of the notwithstanding the mass of technical as well as talent pool that there is, which this slide actually captures, you should be able to see actually a very vibrant scene, and why the fact that the FinTech Association of Hong Kong actually has a fair amount of members who are across both regions. There's a lot of cross-border members that actually tap into the opportunities which are abundant, not only in Hong Kong, but also in the whole Greater Bay Area. Now, the FinTech Association of Hong Kong really rides on three pillars. They are to educate. So we produce a lot of white papers, thought leadership, and also informative executive summaries around the local scene, landscaping, along the 14 different verticals, from AI to blockchain to payments, which are all the thematic verticals, and we each have a committee to drive that form the crux of the thought leadership of FinTech Association. The previous slide, please. So we also have collaborate, which means that we organize a lot of virtual events now because of the coronavirus. We cannot do a lot of face-to-face events, but we used to run really almost 2 to 3 events a month. And some of the bigger events that we partner with Invest Hong Kong, who will be speaking after this, on signature events and programs like the Hong Kong FinTech Week. We also have a presence at other FinTech programs such as RISE, the Blockchain Summit, and so on. And last but not least is to collaborate. So the FinTech Association really exists as promoting the industry and helping to fast track and accelerate the development of the FinTech sector. The next slide, please. This is also the reason why some of our founding members really comprise of large corporations. So almost all the major banks here, from JP Morgan, HSBC to UBS, Credit Suisse, etc., also coexist in our ecosystem together with startups, whether they are unicorns like what Mushir just shared, the WeLabs, the Sense Times of this world, or you are just an angel stage startup. They are all within our community. Of course, the universities, the academia, and a lot of professionals are also part of the ecosystem. The next slide, please. Yeah, so I want to share a couple of quick sound bites on some of the accelerator and facilitators that we partner with a lot here. The first one being Cyberport. Now, you might know that Cyberport has a huge facility in the southern part of the Hong Kong island. They host some co-working space for startups, but they also run very impressive incubation programs. They support a lot of the research around the development of FinTech, and they actually award some funding as well. There are funding programs that you can apply to for research and also for setting up your company. So Cyberport is really someone that we partner with a lot in terms of accelerating the development of the FinTech scene locally. Now, apart from Cyberport, the next one, the next slide, please. Yes. So Science and Technology Park, the Hong Kong STP, they actually run a very successful incubation program, and they have various in town centers, as well as a large research lab and their main campus out in Sha Tin in the New Territories. You'll be pleased to know that since time, the decacorn is much more than a unicorn now, that really was incubated at the Science Park, testing out their biometrics, which is now being adopted across China. So Science and Technology Park is one of our major partners as well, and we do a lot of business matching, industry connect kind of program with them. We love to work together with some of the Chilean FinTech startups to see if there are things that we can help you out here, or if you have an interest to set up here. These are definitely the people that the FinTech Association can put you in touch with. The next slide, please. Yeah, apart from these, there are lots of corporate innovation labs that also do a good job in terms of investing into the system and partnering with some of the startups that fulfill some of their business contacts to really fast track and accelerate this. So from banks like Standard Chartered that have SC Ventures and DBS that run their own hugely successful innovation labs and invest heavily in the digital transformation and FinTech area. There are also people, consulting giants like Accenture that runs their innovation lab Pan-Pacific across Asia Pacific, Deloitte as well. And there are also fundings from like the Alibaba Entrepreneur Fund, and Tencent also runs a lot of startup and digital transformation incubation hubs. So all these are actually part of the very vibrant ecosystem, very fast paced, but a lot of players in there. And you can find them really all under one roof in the FinTech Association's ecosystem. The next one. Now, we also have AMTD, which is a large homegrown investment bank that actually sponsored a lot of the FinTech programs, both here and also in Singapore. And HSBC, Astri, and all that, they all run huge, successful innovation labs promoting the different aspects of startup growth in the whole FinTech ecosystem. So I strongly encourage you to try and look out for some of these partners, or come to the FinTech Association, Mushere and myself. I'm sure we'll be able to, once we better understand your needs, we should be able to connect you with the right party and work with you in taking it forward. Again, thank you so much for your time today, Ping An, and all those are also part of the ecosystem. So Hong Kong is not only a hub for Greater Bay and for China, it's really a hub for the whole Asia Pacific, where you can use this as a launch pad for some of your other initiatives in the Asia Pacific region. Thank you so much for listening to us, and thank you for the time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Helen Lee. Thank you. Please don't forget to write the question in the chat. Por favor, vayan haciendo sus preguntas, dejando sus preguntas en el chat para tener respuestas al final de las presentaciones. Now, I want to invite to Mr. King Leung from FinTech. He's the boss of the FinTech and Invest Hong Kong. Please, Mr. Leung, it's your time. Please,
okay,
Mr.
thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to make sure that everyone can see the slides.
Yes, we can.
Okay, terrific. So thank you everyone for staying up so late to listen to us. My name is King Leung. I am the head of FinTech at Invest Hong Kong. So I would like to just quickly go over some material, and I will probably skip over a few that might overlap with material shared by Mushere and Helene in the interest of time. Now, at the end of the day, we just want to highlight a few numbers here. Now, they are on the left side of the slide. You can see that over 600 FinTech companies. So I would say that Hong Kong is a moderate-sized market by global standard in terms of the vibrancy of FinTech. Now, let me just jump very quickly to the next number on the right. You see like 53% where the Hong Kong-based fintech companies, actually 53% of them who responded to our survey, basically showed us that they have the ambition to grow globally from Hong Kong. And then the number down on the bottom left-hand corner, 51%. Actually, as some of you may know, Hong Kong, of course, is part of China and is connected to the GBA, Greater Bay Area. Actually, based on the survey respondents, 51% of the folks have the intention to expand into the GBA very soon. Now, the other number on the right, 76%, that number basically referred to, I think, as Mushi mentioned, Hong Kong is a fantastic market for B2B, which is just a lot of banking, insurance, asset management companies here to be your B2B clients. That's why 76% of the fintech companies actually operate in the B2B space. And then on the right, 67%, what that number refers to is the consumer fintech adoption, which is quite high by international standard. Now, I just want to quickly touch on 6 factors from our perspective. If I were to put myself in your shoes, when you consider expanding globally, what are the characteristics you'll be looking for, right, before you decide to enter a certain market like Hong Kong? So I just want to highlight the 6 factors will be, number 1, the financial services opportunities, 2, the access to GBA, ASEAN, as Mushia and Helene talked to, funding sources, the regulatory regimes, the professional talent base. Obviously, you have to hire people to build a team. And last but not least is the tax system. Now, I think I would probably stay on this slide for maybe a minute so that you can take a look at some of the high-level numbers. Now, obviously, this is a very sort of, I guess, extensive financial services market, since Hong Kong is one of the leading financial services center. But in terms of actual numbers, right, the market sizing, we just want to highlight a few numbers. Now, for the asset/wealth management space, actually the AUM, the asset money management, is 7.6 trillion Hong Kong dollars. So if you divide by 8, it's roughly $1 trillion US. So it's an enormous number. In terms of number of firms operating in this space, like 747. So there's quite a lot of clients there in this space. Now, banking, 24 trillion total asset under management, 160 banks, and then another 8 new virtual banks. So again, a lot of players for the B2B fintech companies to sell to. Now, digital payments, again, transaction volumes is just enormous, $113 billion. Insurance, $500 billion, right? 514 billion of total gross premium, 162 insurance companies. SMEs, import-export accounted for 8.9 trillion of total trade. Total number of SMEs, 340,000. So again, we just want to quickly highlight some of the numbers to give you a sense that despite the smaller population, Hong Kong has roughly over 7 million population. But if you really look at numbers, actually these are enormous numbers that are much bigger than the population indicates. So that's why I just mentioned repeatedly that B2B is a very vibrant and rich market in Hong Kong based on these numbers here. Now, I'm not going to go into too much details on the GBA as Mashir and Helene talked to. In a nutshell, it is a big market, right? 71 million population, 1.6 trillion US dollars of GDP. It's an enormous market. And then for the ASEAN, there are just a lot of agreements, cross-border agreements that we already negotiated with different markets. So that's why the tariffs are low. Movement of people are easy. So in a nutshell, the Hong Kong is actually a very easy place. Once you get in, is using the Hong Kong as a springboard to get into the ASEAN markets. Now, I have another slide in the back that talk about the funding schemes. So I won't go into a lot of details here, but this is just to give you a sense about the different, I would say, life cycle. When you come in to the Hong Kong market, there is a, so from top to bottom, right? The company set up, the government would waive the business registration fee, the R&D, the number of schemes. that would in which the Hong Kong government would subsidize your own, I would say, localization related research and development. And hiring, the Hong Kong government actually pay you, I guess, partially to subsidize the salaries that you're paying for some of the staff that you initially hired. Business development, there's another subsidy in which the clients, for example, would pay for, let's say, $100,000 US of service fee by doing a POC with you as a B2B fintech. Actually, the Hong Kong government would subsidize 3/4, so 75% of that $100,000 US of POC fee. So 3/4 of those would be subsidized by the Hong Kong government. And the purpose for this is to give you a sense that we are really behind you to help you get the POC as easy as possible for the clients to adopt from you. And fundraising, there's an enormous fund that is called ITVF, Innovation and Technology Venture Fund, that the Hong Kong government put aside 2 billion Hong Kong dollars. So it's a gigantic fund that the Hong Kong government will co-invest with VCs. And then last but not least, the overseas expansion, as I just mentioned in the ASEAN slide. So once you set up in Hong Kong, the Hong Kong government actually would give you some subsidy to do marketing and branding beyond Hong Kong. So let's say in maybe Indonesia, in even mainland China or Malaysia and so on. So this is, in a nutshell, some of the incentives that governments would like to put forward to help you succeed. Now, of course, I think the government side of the support is one thing, but private help is equally important. So this is a slide just to give you on the private investment side, that on the left, you see that from the year 2014 to last year, 2019, over a stretch of 6 years, actually from the VCs, they have invested over 1.5 billion US dollars on private VC investment on fintechs in Hong Kong alone. And on the right, you see the IPO. As many of you may know, Hong Kong is one of the most vibrant IPO markets in the world, that over the past 10 years, actually 6 of the last 10 years, Hong Kong ranked #1 in terms of total IPO fund raised. And just for fintech alone, through IPO, actually over 10 billion US dollars of money were raised from fintech companies on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Now, this is a slide that Michelle also showed. The key point about this was that the regulators in Hong Kong, they are working super hard over the past 5 years to try to be on the forefront of the global fintech regulations. So this is just one of the slides from one of the 3 major regulators, HKMA, Hong Kong Monetary Authority. So each box is a project, okay? So there's just lots of projects that HKMA has launched over the past 5 years to make sure that we have the regulations to cope with the needs from all these innovations in fintech. And then in terms of the professional talent base, well, obviously for fintech, it's not just tech, but there's also the fin side. As you can see here, from accounting to audit, asset management, wealth management, banking, insurance, legal services. Now, this is a very large pool of professionals in these different disciplines, so that when you need to come to Hong Kong to expand, there's actually no shortage of talents here. Now, and also from a ongoing supply of talents. So this is just to give you a sense that on the left, there are basically 2 rankings, 3rd and 4th. What this is referring to, this is a study done by the World University Rankings, and this ranking is from last year, 2019, so quite recent. So essentially what they are doing is that they are ranking the top 3 universities for each market, so Hong Kong being considered as a market, that for computer science and IT, therefore the tech side of fintech, actually Hong Kong's amazingly ranked #3 in the world in terms of the competence of the university graduates. And then for accounting finance, the fin side of fintech ranked #4 in the world. So I think the quality of education in Hong Kong for fin and tech are just very, very encouraging. Now on the right, you see that there are a number of logos. These are either the universities in Hong Kong. Tencent is a gigantic technology company, the headquarters in Shenzhen, but also have a very large presence in Hong Kong. And the other with regulators, the Cyberport, Science Park, S3, and so on. So you can see different organizations have launched over the past few years different degrees, FinTech degrees, right? Bachelor, master, doctor, online programs, certification programs, and whatnot. So this is a lot of efforts and attention into the development and upskilling of FinTech talents. Okay. Just put this aside. All right. So last but not least, the tax is another major strength of Hong Kong. That you can see that compared with our peers, actually the tax rates in Hong Kong is just very, very competitive. So for the first $2 million of profits, actually the tax is only 8.25%. And that's really not much other sort of hidden costs, if you will, other than employee, so Social Security, and then VAT. There's no VAT actually. All right. So with that, I just want to quickly go to how Hong Kong Inc. can help you succeed in Hong Kong. Now, so basically, as Bashir talked about the different stakeholders and partners in Hong Kong, if you're talking about market access, there's the W Hub, FinTech Association. They help you to line up with the clients and the partners. And the same thing will be carried out by Cyberport, the Science Park. Talents, of course, the universities. R&D, there's S3. Government funding support, the HKTDC, which stands for Hong Kong Productivity Council. And then for Cyberport and Science Park, incubation offices, as Bashir and Helene allude to, the 3 regulators and Hong Kong Stock Exchange for capital access. And for Invest Hong Kong, we are the kind of super connector, if you will. That we are typically your first point of contact, and then we can help you navigate the landscape of Hong Kong and connect you with the right party. So to make sure that you can talk to the right person to expand and succeed in Hong Kong. Now, again, this is a lot of numbers, and I just want to point out one scheme just for illustration, and we are happy to share this deck to the attendees here. Now, so basically, there's a ESS program that is up to 10 million Hong Kong dollars, which is roughly 1.3 million US dollar of matching fund. So essentially, if you need to localize your solution to the local Asian market, with Hong Kong being your Asian hub, then actually for every dollar that you invest, the Hong Kong government match you with $1. So in essence, it's what it is. So there's a lot of details. In the interest of time, we're happy to take some questions offline, or perhaps answer questions offline via email and so on. Now, I just want to get some help from Margaret to play a video. So obviously, for you to get a sense about Hong Kong, one good way to do it is to attend our Hong Kong FinTech Week. It is the flagship event of Hong Kong governments, basically hosted by Invest Hong Kong. And essentially, this is an enormous FinTech events that basically showcase a lot of the latest technology. A lot of clients attend, so you can meet with a lot of clients. So I guess a picture tells 1,000 words. I'd like to get some help from Margaret to play a short 1.5 minute video for you to experience what the FinTech Week looks like. So thank you, Margaret.
Margaret, are you there? something happened with the video. Huh?
While we're sorting out the video playing, let me just quickly verbally explain what the Hong Kong FinTech Week is all about. Basically, 5 years ago, we decided to launch this flagship FinTech events. And back in 2016, actually only 500 people attended the events. But now, as of last year, 2019, 5 years later, we actually had 12,000 people attending.
We're in the opening scene of the fourth industrial revolution.
The opportunity is absolutely enormous to completely reshape what's going on.
People have frustrations with their banking experience.
Now is the time for FinTech to really take over.
We cannot forget about the 1.7 billion people in the world who are still unbanked.
We all need to work together in order to bring more value to achieve this financial inclusion.
Digitization of financial services is such a massive opportunity.
How do we evolve the state of digital assets and how they're used out there in the world?
Are we heading for the right direction? Or in this journey, have we made any wrong turns?
Where are we right now, and what are the big trends we have to look for moving forward?
We need to be hungry for new change, new knowledge, dimensional changes in the industry.
We're going to see a fundamental transformation, but we are just at the beginning.
Okay, back to you, King.
Okay, thank you, Margaret. All right, we are getting close to the end. And again, this is just a slide that can show you some of the numbers in terms of attendees. We've come a long way from 500 in the first year. Last year, we got to 12,000 people, a lot of speakers, over 250 of them. Lots of business meetings, right? 1,400 business meetings. And this is what this is for, right? I mean, this the business matching. Exhibitors, actually people from over 60 countries attended the events, a lot of media coverage and so on. So I mean, this is really a good way for me to conclude my part of the sharing. In summary, basically, we feel that it's important for us to have the opportunity to be able to share more information about the Hong Kong market with you. So we're glad for the help from ProChile to help us with today's webinar to share information. This is just the first step. And we just feel that if you are interested to learn more about the market, meet the local clients, we welcome you to join the Hong Kong FinTech Week, which is on the 2nd to the 6th of November. And you see the information of myself, the contact information, and also Veronica, our head for your market in terms of the emails and phone numbers. So with that, I just want to thank all of you for listening to the sharing, and I hope that we are able to serve you in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mr. Leung, for your presentation. And now we have to invite to Mr. Johnson Ng from Hong Kong Trade Development Council. Please, Johnson, can you start now?
Thank you. So, good evening, everyone in Santiago, and good morning, everyone in Hong Kong. So, let me just, first of all, can everyone see the slides?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Great. So, indeed, thanks, FinTech Hong Kong Association and King Leung, Invest Hong Kong's sharing on the ecosystem of the FinTech in Hong Kong, as well as a brief introduction about how Hong Kong perform in the FinTech sector, as well as the business opportunities in the Greater Bay Area. That saves a lot of my time so that I don't have to repeat. So I would like to quickly share what TDC is. In fact, HKTDC is one of the Hong Kong Inc. members. So we established in 1966, so 54 years from now. And then we are we are an organizers of exhibitions of more than 30. And then basically we have 50 offices globally, including 13 in mainland China. And then we organize every year more than 300 promotional activities, a lot of networking events, and incoming missions, and of course about 10 international conferences, including the Asian Financial Forum, which I'm going to introduce. So every year we connect about 6.8 million mainland and overseas enterprises and multipliers with more than 80,000 Hong Kong companies. So meaning HKTDC is an organization which create business opportunities for overseas companies, including Chilean companies, together with the Hong Kong companies. So Bashir and Helene and King mentioned a lot about the Greater Bay Area opportunities. So Hong Kong is basically a hub of doing business and to start your global expansion plan, particularly in Asia. So, and then we're also a partner for startups and SMEs. So we have a lot of programs targeting startups and SMEs like everyone in Chile. So about Asian Financial Forum, indeed, the forum has been organized for 13 years. The upcoming one will be the 14th one. So this is just like a Davos of Asia. So we invite a lot of top-notch speakers from around the world, comprising of institutional heads, former U.S. officials, senior government officials, and then definitely from business leaders and thought leaders from around the world. So we have a lot of participation from private sector and media. So is widely reported for each section, for each forum. And then in terms of the participants' profile, of course, Hong Kong being an international financial center, so over 50% of the attendees there from the financial services and 29% from the corporation, in addition to participation from the government officials, academia, and chambers and associations. So basically, the key activities of the Asian Financial Forum itself, apart from the main forum sessions, we focus a lot on the business elements for the attendees. So we organize a lot of information session, like talks, fireside chats, particularly for the startup community. And then we also have a small exhibitions on FinTech showcase, and then we co-organize a FinTech Hong Kong Startup Salon together with Hong Kong Inc. members like Invest Hong Kong and Cyberport and Science Park. So we work together to recruit local and overseas startups from FinTech sector to showcase their solutions. And of course, networking luncheons and events during the Asian Financial Forum. And most importantly, in addition to the information side, business side of it is very important. That's why this is a very important fundraising platform for project owners, particularly FinTech, because FinTech sector in Hong Kong has been growing. And that's why a lot of local and overseas FinTech companies and startups, they would like to take advantage of the Asian Financial Forum to raise funds for them. That's why the deal flow session has been well received. So about the themes for the Asian Financial Forum upcoming one, definitely we have a lot of themes, including Greater Bay Area, definitely FinTech, and then cybersecurity, etc., etc. For the previous Asian Financial Forum held in January this year, so just to give you an idea, so we have 350 plus attendees. Those are really business leaders, C-suite level. 84% of them they're C-suite level, so very important persons from the financial and business sectors, like I mentioned earlier. We have 90 plus institutional and staff exhibitors taking part in the FinTech Hong Kong Startup Salon. And then we organize 680 plus one-to-one investment matching meetings for the deal flow, as I mentioned earlier. And then we have about 300 plus journalists from around the world report on the event. FinTech is a very important element recently. That's why we have organized two important elements of the Asian Financial Forum, which is the FinTech Showcase and the FinTech Hong Kong Startup Salon. The FinTech Showcase, basically, we feature FinTech solutions of the leading financial institutions, whereas the FinTech Hong Kong Startup Salon, this is a platform for startups from Hong Kong and overseas to take part in this area. So they are here to meet with the C-suite level attendees of the Asian Financial Forum to sell, to showcase their solutions. So of course, the most important thing is how they make use of our platform to raise funds. So among our attendees, many of them, they are investors, including corporates, including venture capitalists, angel funds, private equity. So they're coming to look for investment opportunities, and definitely FinTech is one of the area of interest. So we organize Connect and Match, and then we organize project presentations for the project owners. And Innovation Salon is basically is specifically for the startup communities, including FinTech, of course. So we organize pitching for them, matchmaking for them, and mentorship for them. For the deal flow, so we match 210 investors with more than 300 project owners. So of which many of them, of course, they are FinTech related. And altogether, 420 plus projects are being matched. About the investor origin, definitely Hong Kong is an international financial center, and that's why we've got 57% of the investors are from Hong Kong. We're from Hong Kong. And then very international, we got Mainland investors as well, and from Americas and Europe, ASEAN as well. So for the project origin, so it's even more internationalized. So 37% from Hong Kong, and also from Mainland China, 10%, Americas, 7%. And for the Innovation Salon, it is supported by 70 plus leading venture capitalists, accelerators, institutions, collaborators, and co-working spaces. So I would specifically like to highlight how we support them. So during the Asian Financial Forum, so we organize 3 capacity building topics with 15 industry experts through at the startup clinic, and most importantly, somehow many of our startup companies, particularly those newly established in Hong Kong, even from overseas, which they're about to come to Hong Kong, they might find it difficult to meet with the Hong Kong regulators mentioned by Bashir earlier, so including the Hong Kong MA, SFC. So we specifically arranged them to be at the Asian Financial Forum and pre-match meetings for them. So altogether, we have arranged 40+ meetings for the startups to meet with these important regulators and market facilitators, so that they would so that they were able to learn more about how to set up their business in Hong Kong, and then what kind of regulations they would like to clarify. And we also have a conference app for that, so facilitate not only the information side but also the deal flow matching side. So the upcoming Asian Financial Forum will be held on from 18 to 19 of January 2021. So we welcome companies from around the world, particularly this year. So ProChile would we look forward to work together with ProChile to welcome you to join the Asian Financial Forum. And that's it for my presentation. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Johnson.
Thank you.
And thank you for introduce us with the Asian Financial Forum. Ok, now, ahora vamos a proceder al tiempo de preguntas y respuestas. Entonces, voy a pedirle a Pedro Stancic del Departamento de Servicios de ProChile que nos haga la primera pregunta que él captó desde el chat. Y les recuerdo a todos los participantes seguir enviando preguntas al chat. Las que no alcancemos a responder, vamos a enviar una respuesta a través de email. Adelante, Pedro.
Thank you. Mauricio Benitez asks, is it available to having international tokens custodians in Hong Kong nowadays?
Is for whom?
Maybe the FinTech Association knows.
Okay, can you repeat the question, please?
Is it available to have international tokens custodians in Hong Kong nowadays?
This is King with Invest Hong Kong. The short answer is yes. There are many players. Basically, let me just step back for a moment. Effective last year, it was November of 2019, the main regulator for the crypto space, SFC, the Securities and Futures Commission, they made a very important announcement of the new crypto exchange, or what they call the digital assets trading platform regulation. So that's a earth-breaking, pioneering regulation. And so that attracted a lot of attention, not only for the crypto exchange operators, but also companies around the crypto exchange, I would say the peripheral or complementary service provider, including custodians. So many of these companies are coming in at a much faster pace since November last year. Now, but for the folks on this call, just so you know, Hong Kong is one of the most vibrant, highly liquid crypto market in the world. And the reason being, I think for those of you who follow this space, you would notice that China was huge in the crypto space, but it was banned. Cryptocurrencies were banned in China several years ago. As a result, a lot of the I think the smart folks and all these companies moved their activities to Hong Kong. So almost overnight, Hong Kong has had enormous liquidity on crypto. And obviously, as the money came in, so did the other complementary services. So right now, if you talk to industry insiders like Henry Asanian, who's the chairman of FinTech Association Hong Kong, but also Henry is the global head of crypto at PwC. So essentially, Henry will tell you that based on, in fact, a recent study by PwC last year, he tracked that the money flow, there used to be a lot of investment in crypto space in the US, but that money flow essentially moved to Asia as of last year. So now Asia is the center of gravity of the crypto domain, and Hong Kong is a very major player because of the launch of the new regulation from November last year.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Leung. Pedro,
yes, there is another question for Mr. Leung from Roberto Betriax. He asks, according to the previous experience with Mexican FinTech, which is the best program to apply for Latin American FinTech?
Well, I think the short answer is they are, I would say to answer this question, there are two sides to look at this. Now, one is from the startup side, the other is from the corporate side. So let me just start with the startup side with a more concise answer. Now, I would say that there are three generations of FinTech just broadly. I mean, not just Hong Kong, but globally. Now, what I consider as the FinTech 1.0 are the more sort of basic, I think the really the day-to-day consumer facing kind of FinTech, from payments to remittance, and then let's say consumer lending. So there's just a lot of players like that in basically any country. But this is typically the first phase of FinTech development. Now, the second phase of development typically would involve companies in the insurance space, in InsurTech or wealth tech. Now, the third phase would be things a little bit more advanced. So things like capital markets. So things that in the kind of back end, used by the regulators or the investment bankers and so on. Now, of course, in between, there are also other areas, such as RegTech. RegTech, I would put them in the sort of phase 2.5, if you will. Now, why I want to sort of frame the answer that way, because what companies will be successful in Hong Kong really depends on whether or not this company has, I would say, world-class technology, clients, business models. So essentially, if you are one of those world-class companies, you'll do fine in any markets, right? The UK, the Hong Kong, and Japan, and so on. Now, but then if the technology is not world-class, or I think the models, maybe some sort of IPs, then I think you really have to look at the level of competition. And at the moment, I would say that Hong Kong is going along quite well on phase one. So the payment, the remittance, and lending, there's still quite a number of companies coming in. They're still doing fine because it's a very large market. But then I would say that it is going to be quite competitive because some companies are already here. Now, phase two, the InsurTech and wealth tech. Now, there are some players here that are doing quite well. One of them, wealth tech companies, A Securities, just got acquired by a US wealth tech unicorn called SoFi. So I think it's heating up, but it's not, I would say, ultra competitive yet. So if you are in what I consider the phase two, the InsurTech and wealth tech, there are still opportunities here, particularly in InsurTech. Now, and then there's the third level 3, the capital markets is very niche, but then this is not as crowded just yet. Now, crypto, I would say it's hard to put them in any area. It's a whole new domain. I would say if I were to put them into this sort of phase 1, 2, and 3, I would put crypto in, say, the level 2, so the 2.0. So again, hopefully this can give you a sense of the landscape. If you're a corporate, then there's definitely a lot of room for setting up an innovation lab in Hong Kong, because there's so much activities going on, easy access to ASEAN, to mainland China, just a lot of latest and greatest things happening in Hong Kong. So a lab, innovation lab here in Hong Kong makes a lot of sense. So I hope that I answered the question in a more comprehensive way. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lang. Pedro, ¿tenemos más preguntas?
Yes, just one question. Which is the relationship nowadays between the traditional banking and the FinTech industry in Hong Kong? For any of the participants, maybe the FinTech Association, I don't know.
Happy to take this if you'd like me to. Mushir here.
Yeah, please go ahead, Mushir.
Yeah. So in terms of the relationship of the banks or financial institutions with the fintechs, as I mentioned over the chat there, it wasn't very strong 3 to 4 years ago. The banks were still trying to figure out ways of doing this on their own or dismissing it completely. But over the last 3 years in particular, we've seen 3 things happen. Number one, banks have set up specific fintech teams that are looking at developing solutions in-house or sourcing solutions externally. Number two, the way banks are building their technology infrastructure for the next stage is very modular, which means they are building the core through one company or their existing legacy systems, but they're very open to bringing in elements or solutions from outside fintech or technology players. And number 3 is joint value propositions, where banks are working with fintechs to submit or provide solutions together, right? So on the first one, that's quite active with most of the major banks, regional and as well as the local banks, and they often send out using Cyberport, Science Park, etc. They do a host of POCs and requests for startups to come up with solutions on their pain points. SC Ventures also does that very often. As an example, Bank of China does that, and a few others. On the second element, as I mentioned, a lot of players from outside the world, ranging from the big names like Finastra, Temenos, all the way to specific fintech solutions on RegTech, AI, ML, are all being used by banks on different solutions, front office all the way to back office. On the number 3 point, the virtual banks are a good example of where it's a combination of banks and fintechs. So if you take Standard Chartered's MOX, it is a combination of Standard Chartered with Hong Kong Telecom and PCCW, along with Ctrip, which is China's largest travel agency, online agency. That's one example. Another example is looking at Zhong'an working with Sino Securities as a combination of a tech or a fintech working with a large financial institution. So multiple examples like this on a big level, whereas on a slightly local level, you can see joint propositions that say a Visa and TNG have come up with together, right? For say players like the underserved in Hong Kong, which largely is the migrant workers and domestic helpers, providing them with remittance helps. So you can see something like that. So overall, we are at a very good stage. I would say it's continuing to improve. A lot of the banks have set up their own in-house accelerators as well. So yes, the engagement is quite high.
Thank you, Mushir. Pedro, a ver, ya estamos en el tiempo, pero ¿te queda alguna pregunta más? Y las demás las contestamos por correo electrónico.
Sí, y alguno de los participantes ya ha contestado en el chat.
Sí, he visto en el chat una conversación ahí bastante activa. Entonces estamos listos, ¿sí? ¿O te queda alguna?
No, estamos listos.
Ok. Okay, thank you all the speakers. Sorry.
Disculpa, Alberto.
Yeah.
I just saw one more question from Andres Villarol. What do you think would be main difficulties for Chilean companies to work with fintechs in Hong Kong? Language, distance, time zone, or the level in technologies like AI, blockchain, containers? What is the Chilean brand knowledge in Hong Kong compared to other countries like India, USA, UK, and to the main relation tied to technologies between Hong Kong and Chile?
Maybe I'll give it a quick go, and I'm sure King and others will also have views on this. I'm an Indian. I've been in Hong Kong for the last 6 years. I've also worked on quite a few initiatives to build the Indian fintech brand here in Hong Kong. And so because Hong Kong is a major financial center and has proximity to China, a large number of people are very aware of Chinese fintech, maybe some regional fintech, and also the US fintech. So in terms of the brand itself, with due respect, what will happen is you will need to build the brand out. As I said, even the Indian brand, despite the proximity and the size of Indian fintech, it wasn't much here because people are not looking at it. So it will need more interaction with the local ecosystem. That's number one. In terms of main difficulties, language is not going to be an issue if you're able to speak English. Everybody in Hong Kong fintech speaks English. Time zone, people interact with the ones in the US. So, like this, it'll be a morning, evening play, and people will be, as long as you're able to adjust to that, people should be okay. I think level of knowledge is just varies. In Hong Kong is not necessarily top of the line when it comes to all things tech. We are growing in certain sectors of technology, but I wouldn't say that that is a differentiating factor. I would imagine knowledge of technology is more dependent on the persons rather than the region. So that's one key element. But as Margaret mentioned in her presentation, key for Hong Kong and the Greater China, East Asia region is building relationships. Most people want to know you better. They need to understand your business better and gain trust, right? Especially if you don't have a presence in Hong Kong. Reiterating that is important. Showcasing your work with other banks or institutions in Chile which are well known or in US is important. That will be for me very important, is building that trust and relationship. Don't look at it like a short term. You do a presentation, people like it, and you'll get onboarded. No, the lead time is longer. And you will have to build a trust up when you're working with both financial institutions as well as fintechs here. I'll leave it to the others if they have to add. Thank you.
Thanks, Bashir. I just want to add 2 quick points. First of all, I totally agree with Bashir's assessment. Relationship is key. Luckily, we have a very collegiate kind of culture that there are several organizations that have done a fabulous job in laying out the culture. Where, Finance Association being one, WO Hub is the largest startup private sector hub in Hong Kong, Invest Hong Kong, Cyberport, Science Park. There are many organizations in Hong Kong that can facilitate a lot of sharing and just a lot of help among this community. I cannot tell you enough about how helpful people are. So you can just come over and you can just experience it yourself. So that can really help you a long way. Now, I guess another high level of, I would say, integration to the local market is that if you decide to have a local market system solution localization, you can consider working with one of our Hong Kong Inc. partners, and it's called ASTRI, ASTRI, so Applied Science Technology Research Institute. Basically, what ASTRI does is a fully government-funded research institute. It's the largest one in Hong Kong of its nature, and it does a lot of fintech work. So oftentimes you do work with ASTRI on a localization technology project. They actually help you to apply for government funding. And depending on how you position technology, chances are there's a good chance you may get that funding via help with ASTRI. And then they would actually put forward some of the staff to work alongside with you, so that to shorten your time to really understand the local ecosystem. Not only that, because ASTRI is a government entity, in case your technology needs some feedback from regulators like HMA, that because of the relationship that Esri has with different government organizations such as HMA, then if appropriate, then Esri can help you bring in the regulators in the sandbox to give you some feedback. And at the same time, if you do need to get a local client, let's say Bank of China, to do a POC, then the chances are Esri can help you to line up with the existing corporate relationships to bring in that POC clients. Now, again, if that makes sense. So I think a lot of times there's just a lot of resources to help the company to succeed. Is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Now we are on the time to finish this meeting, but at the end, I want to give some time, a small time, to Mr. Ernesto Lagos. He's the head of the service department of ProChile, and he will give a little word, some words for close the meeting. Ernesto. And sorry, and I want to remind to the Chilean people, quiero recordarles que el 26 y 27 de mayo, 9:30 de la noche, tenemos la rueda de negocios online en la cual desde ya ustedes se pueden inscribir. Ernesto, ¿estás por ahí? Bueno, Ernesto parece que se fue. Pedro, ¿puedes dar tú las palabras de cierre de parte del sector de servicios de ProChile?
Estoy hablando, ¿me escuchan?
Ahí está Ernesto. Sí, te escuchamos, Ernesto.
Ok, Ernesto, todo tuyo.
Si te escucha un poco mal, si pudieras acercar un poco más al micrófono.
Lo tengo acá. Ok. Thank you, Alberto. First of all, I would like to thank for this interesting and comprehensive information about the opportunities for the FinTech companies in Hong Kong. First, to Mr. Helen Lee Moshier from the FinTech Association of Hong Kong, to Mr. Johnson from the Trade Development Council of Hong Kong, and also to Mr. Kim Liu from the Invest Hong Kong, and of course to my colleague Margaret IP from ProChile Hong Kong. We know, respect, this is the first step for a long-term relationship between Chilean companies and Hong Kong companies in the FinTech sector. And for the next step, as my colleague informed and explained before, we invite all of you to participate in our roundtable with the individual meeting between FinTech companies from Hong Kong and Chile that we are going to organize coming May 26th and 27th of May. And also, as a third step, we agree with you that could be an interesting idea to participate in the FinTech Week in Hong Kong and the other workshop that we are going to organize. It's getting late in Chile. Now it's more than 10:36 p.m. And again, thank you very much, all of you, for participating in this interesting seminar. Thank you very much.
Okay. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much to everyone. Okay, we already finished. Thank you. Gracias, Margaret.
Gracias a ustedes. Thank you, Helene, Lucier, King, and Johnson. Thank you so much for joining us.
Have a good day there.
Thank you. You guys have a good night then. Take care and stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Ok, chao, gracias.
Goodbye.
Muy bueno. Bye bye.
Hello.
Bye bye, everyone.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.